Hey everyone, I have got a literary agent podcast for you today. And I'm always just so grateful for the agents who come on the podcast because I mean, they're busy people, right? But I think hearing from agents makes us realize that agents are people too, right? Like, I feel like they sometimes can feel like mythical creatures to authors who are querying. They can seem like people who, are just like, oh, I'm going to send a form rejection on every query no matter what. They are lovers of books, and they love books, and they love authors, and they want to be our partner in all of this. So I love being able to help bridge that gap at times. And I have an agent on the podcast today who's actually been on the podcast before. So we did a second interview because she's amazing, and I feel like we could be friends in real life if we didn't live on opposite ends of the country. I have the wonderful Kimberly Brower on the podcast of Brower Literary and Management, and she's going to answer a new set of questions for us, so that'll be fun for you to get some different information from her. And she truly is wonderful. I would go back and listen to her first interview if you haven't already. I mean, you don't have to. You could listen to this one and then the other one. It's different information, but definitely listen to that one too because she is quite a gemstone. I don't have a favorite book for you right now. I read a book this week and it wasn't my favorite. It's not the worst. And I have very little reading time right now. It was good, but it just wasn't. It was a thriller, like mystery, and I wanted it to be more punchy of like, okay, keep me going, right? But it wasn't. So that's kind of a bummer. But I wanted to talk about a book that I cannot wait to read. I know it's going to be good, so it's going to be my favorite anticipated book. It is by the always incredible Emily R. King. She is the author of two incredible series, the 100th Queen series, which is so amazing, and the Evermore Chronicles, which is amazing as well. I mean, I'm like her biggest fan. So she has a new series coming out, and it's an epic novel series about ancient Greece and all that stuff, which I love. I remember like doing research on that when I was younger because I thought those Greek gods and all that mythology was so cool. So it comes out next March. So put it on your list. You can go pre-order it right now. But let me read the blurb for you really quick. My mother told me that men would speak about the golden age as a time of peace and happiness for all. However, the women of our age would tell a very different story. Cronus, god of gods, whose inheritance is the world, among his possessions, women, imprisoned and fated to serve. The strong-minded Althea Lambros controls her own fate and lives to honor her dying mother's plea to protect her two sisters at all costs. Althea's journey towards crushing the tyranny has begun. It is a destiny foretold by the fates, and she is following their visions. On the southern isle of Crete, I'm probably saying that wrong, hidden among mortal women who have fled the Titans, is the boy god, son of Cronus and believed dead. Oh my gosh, I can see it already in my head. He shares Althea's destiny to vanquish the Almighty, fate willing, because Cronus has caught wind of the plot. He's amassing his own forces against Althea's righteous rebellion and all those who will no longer surrender or run. There will be war. If she's to survive to write their history, the indomitable Althea must soar higher than any god. Oh boy, you guys, it's going to be so good. So put that on your to-be-read list. It's coming out next year. We're all going to be obsessed, and Emily is off to another great series. Okay, that's my most anticipated read. Hopefully, the book I'm reading right now will be good and will be my favorite book of the next episode. But let's get to know Kimberly a little bit better, and let's have her answer some new and different agent questions for us. Let's go. My first question for you is, how has COVID/quarantine changed the publishing process, if at all?
I think at first there was concern on access to books in terms of books being printed. Some books that were scheduled to release in March or April or even May, there was some concern over whether the warehouses could not print them, but receive them, because there was you're not allowed to be, like, there was a quarantine mandate in
Yeah.
most states. So so that was a big concern. So a lot of pub dates got pushed back because of that. And that obviously could have, it's hard to quantify the type of effect that had as a result, like if sales were impacted, because there was a whole publicity and marketing plan to go into something for a date to be pushed back. But I do feel that come the end of May, going into June, I feel like things got much easier. Things were much more on track. One of the few things that I see were affected is that paperback arcs, which is when a book is coming out, publishers print a few paperback arcs to send to trade reviewers or bloggers.
Mm-hmm.
And for some publishers, they opted not to print them because, again, the quarantine factor and how many people could be in a warehouse and just the timelines. So that was an issue. But other than that, in terms of submissions, my submission process is still the same. I actually feel like editors were more open. Not that they had more time to read. I think they were more in their element to read because they were at home.
Yeah.
So they've been all actively acquiring. I don't think that has slowed down at all. But yeah, for the most part, I think as of now, things are pretty much on schedule. There hasn't really been, everything's kind of caught up over the last 6 months. I can't believe it's almost been 6 months since this happened, since everything. But yeah.
Well, that's good to know. I mean, I think, I heard from a different agent that they've had even more queries since people have been home too, like because everybody's at home, maybe working from home and has the ability to work more on their projects, that the queries have even gone up.
Yeah, actually, now that you mention it, I do think that. I think people are finding time, even if, after they clock out of work or on the weekends, because no one's really going anywhere.
Right.
No one's traveling. So I think people are finding time. I'm sure in the next year or 2 or 3 years, we're going to hear a story of this #1 New York Times bestseller that was written because it was in quarantine.
Yes.
I hope I'm the agent on that, but I'm sure there's going to be many stories about that in years to come, for sure.
I'm sure there will be. There'll be I got the idea during COVID-19 quarantine interview story.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear, though, that things have started, just kind of getting back to normal. It is crazy that it's been almost 6 months. Just madness.
I know. It's crazy that it's September, to be honest.
I can't.
Well, it's been,
I'm excited for 2021. It has to be better, right? It has to be better.
I know, but it seems so sad that, to be a little melodramatic, that we wasted a year.
Yeah.
It's sad.
It's very sad. I've tried not to waste it, though. I've tried to, do other things to make it not be wasted, but it is hard when you're just at home all the time. It sort of feels wasted.
I know. No, I agree.
So my next question for you is about queries. I'd love to know what some of the best queries you've read have had in common.
I think some of the very easy to explain plots. That probably was not the most eloquent way to say it, but I mean in that I've actually seen some really good queries lately, and it's just been because the concept was just phrased in a way that made me go, oh, that sounds interesting. I don't know if it's just people have been spending more time, or they've been listening or reading up on Twitter or on how to query, but I've really been really excited by a few of the queries I've received, because the concept can be summarized in 2 sentences, and it's very to the point, and I know exactly what I'm getting into, and it gets me excited.
Yeah. I mean, that is what we all want from a query, right?
Yes. No, yeah. So it's been, so those are the ones that I've been excited about. I've also been excited about some cross-genre queries I've received, where people are taking a little bit of more chances in terms of going a little bit outside the box, and I like that as well.
Yeah, that is awesome. So my next question is about a synopsis, which I feel like is the bane of my existence, but I know they can be super helpful for agents in the querying process. So I'd love to know, how important is voice in a synopsis for you?
For me personally, I do not think voice is needed at all. I think what I look for in a synopsis is just like the bare bones of like what this plot is, what this story is about, what the conflicts are, who these characters are, and how you plan on resolving these conflicts.
Okay.
For me, that's what the first chapters are for, is to getting voice, because that's where I judge voice. I do not judge voice based on your synopsis. I mean, sure, is it cute if you make your synopsis a little pithy and snappy and using buzzwords? Yeah, that's great. But for me personally, I don't think it's needed. I would rather a very dry synopsis, but an accurate one, and you save the voice for your chapters.
I love it.
Yeah, chapters, and that's where the voice, and I feel like, I don't want to speak for other agents, but at least for some of the agents I've spoken to, I feel like we know voice pretty quickly if it's there and if we like the voice. And I'm sure that not connecting with narrative voice is probably one of the most common things you see in a rejection letter.
Right.
And because it's true. And it seems, I feel like I want authors to know that it's not just the copy paste rejection letter. And it's really just, you just know if the voice is for you. You just know if you're connecting to the voice. Yeah. And I'm sure as readers, I'm sure as a reader even, you would know if when reading a book, if you're like, oh, I think I'm going to like this book. You know what I mean? So yes. It's just something, and I've heard feedback from authors where they're like, it's so generic, that comment. And I'm like, I don't know how to explain it other than I didn't connect with the way the story was being told.
Yeah, and I mean, that isn't, unfortunately, I feel like that's not something writers can wholly control, because their voice in their book probably is not, it's not going to connect with every reader, so it's not going to connect with every agent.
100%. I totally agree.
Definitely. Well, that's a good information on synopsises, or whatever the plural of that word is.
Oh, well, it's sorry, can I just add to that?
Yes.
I think it's really funny because I get this from my authors. I get this for some of the agents that I work with. They always say, like, what's the difference between a blurb and a synopsis and a summary and copy text? The thing is, okay, so I know this was not your question, but can I use this time to explain the differences?
Please.
Because I hear this question all the time. So a blurb, and these are my definitions, but I'll give what other people call it. So a blurb or copy text or promo text, that is what goes on the back of your book, or when you go to Amazon and you look at the detail page and you see what the book is about. That's what I consider blurb or copy text or promo text. That's kind of what the lingo is there. It's that snapshot, how to sell the book. What's going to make the reader pick it up and one click it. So that's what those are. But then there's a summary or synopsis. And they are not two different things. They are actually the same, at least in my book. They are, in my opinion. When I say a summary or synopsis, it just kind of gives the rundown on what happens in the book. You obviously would not put that. You would obviously not put what all the conflicts are and how they're resolved in a blurb or copy text or promo text on Amazon. You don't give the book away.
Yeah.
But for a synopsis or summary, that's what you put in there so that whoever's reading it knows what's happening. So that's the difference. But I know there's a lot of different. There are many times, like on our website, we ask for a full synopsis, and I get a lot of questions. They're like, what is a synopsis about? And I don't blame them, because I know there's a lot of different things. And sometimes I even go to my clients when I ask them to write it for me. I'm like, even if you just give me a bullet point list, that could work, because I just need to know what happens in the book. I think basically that's all I need to know. What happened? Tell me. But yes, I just want to clear that up, because I always get that question, no matter where I am, even from my own clients when I ask them to do one for me. That is what it is. So sorry, I didn't mean to hijack the conversation,
No.
but I wanted to do that.
That's perfect. That's information that authors need to know, and I love it. My next question for you, I'd love to know what your thoughts are on, authors hiring a proofreader or editor before querying. Is that something you recommend?
No, I don't think it's needed. I think it is only needed or recommended if the author themselves is not confident enough or secure enough and feels that they want it. If it's like, I almost look at doing something like that as almost like a security blanket.
Yeah.
It's almost like, if it will make you feel better as an author to do that before you query agents or before you send your manuscript to an agent, I'm not one to stop you. I don't think it's needed, though. I would never say you need to get a proofread. You need to get this done. Get an editor before you query. That is, we as agents, we know we're getting raw manuscripts.
Yeah. So
I never suggest doing it, but I don't think there's anything wrong if authors want to go take that extra step. It won't make, if you write in your query letter, I had this proofread, it won't make an agent like it more.
Right.
I guess that's, like, saying that will not
give you a leg up or anything.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if you as an author want to do it, and you have the money to do it, and that is your prerogative, and that's great. But it is absolutely not required or needed at all.
Awesome. I think that, I do think that there are people out there who believe that hiring somebody like that and having someone go through their book like that will give them a leg up. But I mean, the people who do that are charging the price that is fair for the work that they're doing, right? But it can be very expensive if you're paying out of your own pocket.
Exactly. And so I do not think it is needed at all. I don't want any authors to be discouraged if they can't afford it. So not at all.
Wonderful. Thank you for that answer. My next question for you is, what's a misconception that people have about what you do as a literary agent?
That I just sit around and read all day. I really wish that was the case. I would have so many more books that I have read.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are different roles a literary agent can take, and every literary agent operates a little bit differently in how they break up their day. But I want to say, just like an editor at a publishing house, we're lucky if we probably get an hour in our day reading, unless we specifically set that time aside to read something that's on deadline. But usually, if I'm being honest, for me, I do my reading of my author's books and like editing on that on weekends because I have uninterrupted time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the biggest misconception, that we just read a lot and all the day. That we're just sitting around reading, and as soon as we get a book, we're going to just start reading it. Like, as soon as we get asked for your manuscript on query, we're going to start it right away, which might happen. It might happen. I'm not saying it won't, but it's just, we wish that is all we did. That would be great.
That would be great. Just professional reader.
Yes, that would be fantastic.
I'd love to be paid for that job.
I know.
Well, another question about your job. What's the hardest part of being a literary agent?
Believing in a book, loving a book, and hearing no from people and having to break that news to an author. We don't always get yeses, or we don't always get yeses from the places that the author wants us to get yeses from or offers from. I think the worst job is not finding a home for a project, especially when it's a project we love and believe in. For me, that's really hard, especially because it's not within my control. Like, it's very easy. I feel like being an author, it's not one of those things in life where you can be like, if you work, that motto that we're taught as kids, if you work hard, you'll get you'll achieve your dreams.
Yes.
Right? That does not apply to being an author.
No.
You can be the hardest working author and never make a dime or never get what dream you want as an author. And I think as an agent, that's the hardest part, especially after working with someone and knowing how hard they work at it. That is the most challenging thing. And it's a little bit sad too, because we believe in it and we just want someone else to believe in it too.
Definitely. And you're with those projects, I would imagine, if not as passionate as the author, like second most passionate about it, and I can see how that would be very hard. I think the other saying that I always heard when I was a kid was, if you just put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything you want. And I'm like,
exactly.
That doesn't always apply when you're an author, because there's lots of other people that have to put their mind to it too and agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like I'm not a mother, but I have friends that are mothers, and we had this conversation, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm supposed to teach my child that if they work hard and just keep trying, they'll get what they want." And I'm like, that doesn't. And I was like, but that's really not reality.
No.
I mean, hard work. You have to teach hard work. I get that, but no matter how hard you work, there are certain things in life you just won't get, no matter how hard you try. And that, but it's what we're taught as children, so it's something we have to overcome.
Well, I mean, it's hard to tell your kid, well, you need to work really hard to achieve this, but it might not happen. Like, that would be a hard thing for them to even understand. But it is. It's like we need to find a way to be like, it's good to work hard and have a good work ethic, but also you have to deal with the fact that failure will come at some point in your life.
Yes, I know. And not a lot of people, there's a lot of schools of thought, and not everybody agrees with that.
Yeah. And, that's, people will do what they will. Well, let's talk about a positive. What do you love about being an agent? What's your favorite thing about your job?
I guess the flip of the coin, selling an author's book and seeing it published, watching their hard work come to fruition. I think it's the total what the worst part is my job is also when it does happen, that's the positive of my job, is especially for debut authors, when it's their first book or their first book with a publisher, them holding their book in their hands or them going into a bookstore and seeing it, I think that is what gives me the most satisfaction, because to go on to what we were saying, their hard work did pay off, and just seeing the manifestation of that is just amazing.
I mean, I would imagine just, that's a dream come true, and you've been the one kind of helping and facilitating them getting to that point. So I can understand how that would be like the best part of it.
Yeah, but I mean, to give you a non-cliche answer too, because I will.
Yes.
Another positive about being an agent, I think, is being able to. We use a lot of these terms in publishing, especially now, as that agents are gatekeepers for the publishing.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually take that term to heart and very seriously, and I think it's being able to give voices to characters or stories that may not be out there, and I think that's really exciting about being an agent as well, is to help get these voices or stories out there that haven't been told before or haven't been given attention before. I think that is what's exciting as well.
Yeah, that's very exciting, and to be able to be on the ground floor and fight for those stories to be out there in the world so other people can have that amazing feeling of reading a book and seeing, part of themselves connecting with somebody like them is pretty wonderful.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. I love it. My next question for you, what questions do you think that authors should ask a literary agent when they're on the call?
This is a fun question. I love this question. I think one of the, I'm going to, in no particular order, I'm just doing it as they come to me. One of the things is, are there any changes that they are going to suggest you make to your manuscript? Mm-hmm. Like, what changes do you foresee I'm going to need any changes before we go on what type of, are you looking, here's another. Are you looking for an author to stay with the author for their career?
Yeah.
Or is that something that you help develop, building a author brand and a career with an author? Because I think that's really important to ask.
Definitely.
Depending on what you want, because your answer might be you don't care. You might be a nonfiction author and you just want a one book deal, which is totally fine. But if you are a author who's writing fiction of some sort and wants to make a name for themselves as an author and a long-time career, I would suggest asking that, because you want to make sure whatever agent you sign with has that same thought process in mind for you.
Definitely.
As well. I would ask what the process they see happening, and if you sign with them, what happens? Like, will we go into edits? Will we go straight to submission? What is their game plan, so to speak, for your project? And what is your communication style? I actually like that question, because I actually have never been asked this, but I think authors should ask, because I think everybody needs something different, and you might need something specific from an agent, but they might not be that kind of agent. Like, will you let me know and give me updates, or should I only contact you when I have a project going? Or, you know what I mean? I feel like that is something you want to ask, just to know if your communication styles are the same. And maybe I'm not phrasing it right to say, what is your communication style? I just think, how often do you want to hear from me? Even that, like, how often do you want to hear from me, I think is important to ask, just to make sure what you are looking for is the same thing as what they are looking for, or what they can provide to you.
And too, just so you have a good expectation of how much communication will happen, so you're not like feeling left in the dark, like, oh, why haven't I heard from them, or why haven't they responded to my email, that sort of thing.
Exactly. And just to kind of know, because if you know, so I'm a kind of person, I give responses within 24 hours, and if I don't, there's a reason, and I feel awful. But that's just my style, and I also do not have children, and I'm not married. So let me preface that by saying that I'm sure a lot of colleagues of mine that they have set work hours that they do it, and then that is when they only respond during that time frame. And like at 10 o'clock at night, if you email, they may not respond to you till the next day, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But if you're someone that needs instant gratification, like instant communication, I don't think you're going to find anyone that's going to say that they will give it to you. But I'm just saying, if that is your expectation level, I think you should ask the agent. There are some agents also that I have heard that don't communicate very well.
Yeah.
So you want to see what they say, at least, in how they answer that question. Because as much as the agent is quote unquote interviewing the author is interviewing the agent. And You need to make sure you're the right fit, if your personalities gel, if what their vision for the book is gels with what your vision for the book is. It's very easy to be like, I want to make a lot of money, right? But I think that should all be known, right? We all want to make money, right?
Yes.
But I mean, beyond that, it should be like, do you see this with a big house? Do you see this? What do you foresee for this? What kind of story are you going to present it as? I feel like an agent should have an idea. Obviously, that can change as working with you goes. But in terms of reading it, I think they should have an idea of why you should sign with them.
Definitely. And I think you're so right. It is both parties interviewing the other, because it's a beneficial relationship to both of them. So they both need to make sure that they're making a good decision.
Yes. And I think I almost think asking agents hard question. I would never ask an agent, though, how much do you think I'm going to get for this?
Yeah.
Because an agent will never. I actually have had people ask me that. But that's one question I just wouldn't, because no agent's going to give you an answer.
Right.
And if they do give you an answer, you're probably either not going to like it, or you're going to have false expectations. So, like, don't ask that question.
Yeah.
But so there are questions you shouldn't ask. But I think it's okay to ask agents hard questions, because you also want to see how they handle questions that, if you want someone that's very transparent, you'll see how they answer. There are some authors that want an agent to just kind of like only talk to them a few times, only when they sell, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of agent you should make sure that's what you're interviewing and getting from it.
Definitely. So, and I think then I think authors, before they get on the call, before they query, probably, or as they're querying, should really think about those things and what they are looking for in an agent too. So
Correct.
that they're prepared.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, those are such good questions, and things to ask and things not to ask when you're on the call. So thank you for those. I just have one last question for you, Kimberly. I'd love to know what you're most excited about representing next and some things that you're looking for right now.
Sure. I'm most excited about, I have a few projects that are ready. I actually just went on submission with, I normally don't represent cozy mysteries, but I got a cozy mystery that I just
love
went on
it.
submission with, and I'm so excited about it because it's just so fun.
Yes.
It's fun, cozy. I also have, I'm trying to think. I've been doing a lot of small towns, which, again, I normally don't do. So, you know what I'm excited about? I'm excited about doing some of the projects that are a little bit outside of what I normally do or what I'm normally known for. And I think that is exciting because it's a new genre and it's a new way to reach different readers for my authors. Because some of my authors are switching genres a little bit. And that is what I'm excited for. And then what I'm looking for is, I just really want stories that are interesting. And I know that sounds so basic, but I promise I'll give you more than that. I'm not going to leave you with that. But I mean, I just want a story, kind of going back to how I said, like, the elevator pitch. Like, if a story has a great elevator, but the writing backs it up. Like, the writing is there.
Yeah.
I get a lot of queries with really great ideas, but it's just never, it's a 9 out of 10. That's a lot. That's not fair. Half the time, it's not executed in the way that takes it home for me. That makes me go, oh, this is the most amazing book.
Yeah.
Specifically, I've been looking for a Knives Out type of book, like movie Clue, which is my favorite movie.
Yes.
I've been looking for it forever, and it's not a cozy. That's different than a cozy, but I've been really looking for. I don't know if you want to call it a domestic suspense or something like that, but just something fun. I think right now, just because of where we are in our society and with COVID and everything, I just want books that get you excited, that make you escape a little bit, that make you forget about what is going on in the world. I also want a friend book, like a friend group book, kind of like the show Friends, which is very obvious, but like a modern St. Elmo's Fire, or like a group of friends and the inner workings between friendship, because I think I don't think there's always like romances or mother-daughter, or I really want a friend group one. So that's something I'm really looking for. And of course, I'm always looking for diverse characters, diverse authors. So that is also something that I would love to see as well.
Awesome. I think that those all sound wonderful. And I've always loved books that like let you escape, but especially right now when there's just so much going on in the world, it's nice to read those kind of books. But also Knives Out was like an incredible movie. I watched it twice because it was just so good. And if there was books out there, like a new one coming out that was like it, oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
Right? Who doesn't want like an old school, like Agatha Christie murder mystery?
The best.
Right? Like, just, I just want, unfortunately someone has to die, but whatever, that's okay. I was actually thinking about books when I was in school. I was talking about books I read when I was in middle school and high school. And it made me think of the Westing Game. I don't know if anyone read that, but that is, I read it in 6th grade, but actually I read it again as an adult, and I was like, oh, I can't believe I read this as a 6th grader, and really, but it's kind of like, One Big Amazing Race, right? Like, something like that, almost like, solve a problem, solve a puzzle.
Yes.
I just like that. I just think it's fun. It's just, I think, what our society needs right now.
Definitely. I love everything like that. I love mysteries and Agatha Christie and all that. I need more of it. The world needs more of it, especially right now.
Yes.
Well, Kimberly, thank you so much for chatting with me for a second time and being so wonderful and just, giving awesome advice and feedback on these questions for my listeners. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's always a joy to talk to you. I'm glad I can come back again.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you understand how much I appreciate it. I mean, it is so special to me for every single person who listens or shares or talks about this podcast. So please rate and review it where you are listening if you can. If you can't, please make sure to share it with your friends. Post about it on Twitter and Instagram and tag me at Rose Quinney, Quinny, and see you next week. I have 2 episodes coming out next week, which are gonna blow your mind. The always incredible Claire LeGrand and Shannon Takaoka, who has a book coming out, and you're going to love it. All right, guys. See you next time.